Welcome, everybody. Welcome to this week's Soulful Conversation with my Gemini sister, breath mate, soul sister, Mariana Lopez. Hey, Mariana, thanks for being with us today.
Oh, my pleasure, Christian. Happy Friday.
Happy
Yay.
Friday.
Yes.
So, part of what I wanted to talk to you about is your journey from big time events producer, international events producer, to owning your role as a healer.
Mm.
Tell us a little bit about that.
It, it was only a 7-year process, really short, really fast process. Um, that actually started very deeply. It started with you. It started with you in 2015. The first time that I went to the goddess temple and I breathed, I still remember exactly where I was. And I got up and I said, I'm going to be a practitioner and I'm going to do the apprenticeship in a year and I will graduate in Hawaii. And that opened up it really opened up the path that got me to where I am right now. So a lot of breath work for sure. And then realizing that my heart and what I was passionate about was teaching people the tools that I was learning on my own healing path. So a lot, I always say it, I preach what I practice. If I don't practice it, then I don't preach it, because I don't embody it. And so for me, it's been about embodying all of these tools that I have been learning in the past 7 years, as well as my own experiences of trying on these tools and saying, oh, well, this is how it works for me. Maybe it'll work for you as well. To be honest, it has been, especially the first like 3 years, was not easy. There was a lot of like self-doubt and like, oh my God, I'm not ready. Kind of like this forever student, right? I need another certification. I need to learn more. I'm not ready. I was a certification freak. um, Going through all of these trainings, and it was actually the pandemic in my case that very much supported me in deep diving fully into catalyst of self-discovery and healing, breath work, facilitator, retreats, et cetera, because the pandemic removed events and conferences as a whole in my life. So it was just like the universe kind of saying, well, now you have no other option than to fully step into the art of healing, right? Being a facilitator and educator of the healing arts.
I love that. I mean, so many things that I love about what you just shared, including the authenticity
Mm.
of walking your talk and only teaching that which you have experienced and has worked for you. And I love this concept because I know that other people have also struggled with issues around not feeling ready,
Yeah.
needing yet another certification. Um, and so tell us a little bit about that for somebody who might be watching this,
Yes.
who is struggling with that. Um, if I just need another year, another certification. And from my perspective, it's all hands on deck.
Yes.
And we don't have another 5 years to wait for anybody to feel ready. So what can you say to someone who might be where you were?
Oh my goodness. First and foremost, start somewhere. Start small. Start with your friends. Ask your friends to come over and invite them for a breathwork session or a Reiki session, whatever it is, whatever modality or healing tool that you have to offer. Definitely start, like, set yourself up for success, kind of like brushing up against that growth edge without overcommitting or overwhelming yourself. So in my case, I would ask my friends. I used all of my friends as guinea pigs. And then the excuse was, oh, I don't have a space, I don't have a place to do this, et cetera, et cetera. And so then one of my friends was like, why don't you just do it in my living room? And I was like, oh, okay, right? And so that gave me another kind of step in confidence. So we're building confidence as we go up the ladder of am I ready or am I not ready, which like 100% I don't think anyone is ever ready. But it's more of like kind of proving your mind, proving your ego wrong. Like your ego's like, you're not ready yet. You have to go, through whatever shaman college, and taking a pause and being like, well, what if I'm wrong about that? What if I get like 3 people to come to my house and listen to me talk? And it's also having a lot of patience and compassion with yourself. And a lot of people are very hungry. Like you think you don't know enough, but there's people who are very hungry for your content, who are very hungry for your experience, that maybe one word of everything that you said is what they take home and you made an impact on their lives. So saying something versus staying quiet is always going to be beneficial to someone out there.
Yeah, and I totally relate myself. If I were still waiting till I felt ready to release my book, it would still, be there
Yeah.
in the ethers. It would have never gotten released.
No, exactly.
And sometimes we just gotta like push forward and one step in front of the other,
Yeah.
one breath after the next.
Exactly. Particularly deep breaths. You
Deep
definitely
breath.
want to keep the breathing going as you step into that, right? Like, and that's the thing. Like one of our core wounds is the fear of power. Like we like as humans, we're actually afraid of it. And so it's this like very small movement towards that growth edge and being like, oh, can I hold it? Can I hold it here? Can I be in this uncomfortable place, knowing that I'm in service to another human being? So like it can't go wrong. Like you can't mess this up, because the intention is to be of service to another. The intention is to share your heart with somebody else. There's no way you can mess that up.
Yeah, and the fact that they may be able to hear something from them in a way that they're not going to hear it from me or from you.
Mm-hmm. It's that unique frequency, right? It's that
Yeah.
like unique, because at the end of the day, Christian, the truth is like, all them they're all like all roads lead to the same place, right? Like all the modalities, they're all different modalities, but they all lead to the same place, which is like we are love. We are the creators of our own reality. You are worthy, you are enough, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the way that one person shares that medicine or shares those teachings is always going to be different from someone else. And so that unique vibration, is what matters. Like you are it's kind of like Enchanted. Like you are, from Disney, you are the magic. Like it's you. It's nothing else but you.
Yeah, a lot of profound messages hidden in the Disney
Oh
movies.
my God, for sure.
You mentioned, I want to ask you a couple more things. One is because I know that you've and you received very powerful messages, visuals, guidance, next steps in breathwork sessions.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about receiving signs and following the signs, because sometimes it feels like like the crumbs, like we're given a crumb and then the next crumb.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about that for somebody who is on their journey.
Mm-hmm.
What can you say about this process of being open and reading the signs?
Yeah. So specifically with breath work, the one of the most powerful mantras that I repeat to myself is, I trust my breath. I trust my breath, and I trust what my breath has to show me in this session. And I surrender to my breath, right? Like I'm surrendering to my breath, and I'm going to allow my breath to show me. So that for me is step one. The other thing is, as I receive these messages, one is like I know that I'm ready to receive them, right? Like if it's coming in and I'm seeing it so clearly or I'm feeling it so clearly, I know I trust that, right? I trust what I am being shown. And then I sometimes I do a little bit more research afterwards if a deity has shown up, or a certain image. So I'll go into like, okay, what does that mean? What does this energy represent? What is being asked of me? Um, and then I will write them down and take little steps to get there, right? Because that's the other part around, for me, in regards to receiving these messages, is that sometimes I feel this sense of urgency, and it's like, oh my god, like the most recent one has been around birthing a new earth, right? Like I've had many breath works where Kali energy shows up very deeply, and I'm literally birthing a new earth. And I have a sense, and then I start with the urgency. Oh my God, like I need to go do all of these things at the same, and it's the pause and taking a breath and saying, okay, let me start with step one. Particularly if there are these like really big messages, like birthing a new earth. I was like, okay, hold on a second. I hear you. I've got you, and let me see where I can start with just this first step, right? And then continuing to ask for assistance from the divine in that, like, okay, you're asking me to you're telling me birth a new earth, don't necessarily know what that means, like in a literal 3D sense. So let me continue to ask, let me continue to be open, let me even say, okay, send me a message tomorrow about what this means. And I might be here, like this happened yesterday, and it's like, oh, okay, here's this opportunity to be able to talk about what I do, to talk about like, hey, I'm birthing a new earth. Anybody want to help me with that? Like that type of thing. I think it's really important to share and communicate and ask for
Yeah, I think that's
support.
beautifully expressed and very practical. I ask for signs too, and I've learned to ask for clear signs.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because we're interpretation machines. And so that's why, like, and then we interpret it the way that we want. Which is why with breath work, images or feelings, in my case, my experience, I remember the image. Like I do my best not to interpret what it means. Like I can tell you I turned into Kali and I was birthing an earth, like the new earth. I don't necessarily know what that means literally, so I'm going to keep asking, right? Instead of like making it mean things about myself or et cetera, et cetera. It's like, this is a message. Okay, I'm going to continue to be open to it and continue to explore and ask questions.
I love that. Let me ask you a little bit about, because you on your journey
Yes.
to step into your healer. You, as you said, you explore many certifications.
Yes.
One of the ones that I wanted to go deeper into is your sound healing.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the same way that over the year, 30 years that I've been doing breath work, often people will say, all that can happen, all that incredible healing can happen just from breathing.
Yes.
I've also heard people say, what do you mean sound bowls? How can healing come from that?
Yes.
So for somebody who hasn't really had the experience of sound healing, tell us a little bit about the philosophy behind it.
Yes. Sound healing is such a beautiful modality of healing. So if we base everything off of quantum physics, that everything is energy and energy cannot be destroyed, therefore emotions are energy, that means that our emotions have a specific frequency, right? And these are higher frequency or lower frequencies. It's not good or bad. It's not darker, more, none of that. It's simply a higher frequency, a high pitched, like a higher frequency, or a lower frequency emotion. So the sound bowls, the crystal, and you have two types of sound bowls, actually three types of sound bowls. You have frosted crystal quartz sound bowls, which are those white ones that you tend to see everywhere. Then you have the Tibetan ones, which are more metal. They're more metal-like. And then you have alchemy bowls that are made of a specific stone. So that could be rose quartz or moldavite or celestite. The thing is that they are each tuned to a specific frequency, therefore designed to create a sound wave, right? A sound wave in the space that you're in, to start to break apart dense energy or lower frequency energies, to be able to transmute that into higher higher frequencies. And it specifically, sound healing specifically works with the chakras. So it's a great way, it's a great entry point into healing, into the healing world. If someone's not, kind of like, oh, breath work, I'm not sure, or, all of this sounds very overwhelming. I've never been in a space like this. Vulnerability is a little challenging for me. Sound healing is the most passive way to start creating a relationship with your body and your energetic and emotional body as well, and receive healing without needing to be very active in it. So it's a great modality on its own, and then it's also really great to pair it up with breath work, for example, or any other healing modality that you might be practicing.
So, yeah, beautifully expressed. So,
Thank
in
you.
these times of chaos and uncertainty, like so much is up, like for grabs. Global pandemic. We're just beginning to witness whatever it is that we have unleashed on the environment, and especially you're also based in South Florida part of the time. So that's very real for us down there, the
Yes.
climate
Flooding,
change.
the climate change.
And having access to so many tools, how do you find center in the midst of chaos?
Breath, sound, and movement. Like it comes down to and I should preface this where like I like to oversimplify things into one sentence. Again, going back to embodiment. If I can't explain it very quick, like if I can't explain it very simply, it's not in my bones yet. So for me, whenever I'm spinning out, wherever my mind is very chatty, it's kind of like a stop, drop, and roll. For me, it's like sound, breath, and movement. Sound, breath, and immediately I will go into sound, breath, and movement, and that will bring me back to a current state, like back into loving presence, back into what's current, energetically current. My mind is not in the future. My mind is not in the past. It's not coming up with like worst case scenarios of of things that may happen. The sound, the breath, and the movement forces me back into presence, forces me back into my body, back into my heart space. And obviously, there's different ways to do sound, breath, and movement, but those are my three pillars, my trinity: sound, breath, and movement.
I love that. I know you're also quite the global traveler.
Yes.
You've got a base in Argentina as well that I'm going to ask you about in a minute. But of all the places that you've been to, and I'm asking specifically about places that have association with spirituality, like
Yes.
spiritual centers, is there one that's your favorite?
I'm a Gemini, so I have to say two. The first one is Bali. Bali is a very, very special place in regards to energy and spirituality and like trusting in the divine. Like these people, they wake up every morning and the first thing they do is honor the divine. They have a little ritual. They put some incense. They say hello to the divine every single morning, and I found that to be very beautiful. And then the other place that for me are in general the Hawaiian Islands, which are also known as the heart chakra of the world, particularly Maui. In my case, it's Kauai. It's just my happy place on earth. There's actually an ashram there, so you can visit Ganesh. And they do pujas every weekend.
And that huge crystal that they have.
Yes, and that huge crystal that's right there. So those are my 2 points on this planet that I feel have very special energy, and that there's a lot of opportunities to heal there.
Yeah, for me, I'm so deeply connected to the Hawaiian Islands too, as you know. As you know.
Yeah.
So tell us about this potential retreats center in Argentina.
Yes. So in Salta, which is a province in the northwestern part of Argentina, I own a beautiful piece of land and a beautiful home that I am remodeling, and actually pretty hopefully by the end of this year I am going to have ready to announce publicly, and also put it on Airbnb, so people can have the option of either coming on vacation and doing their own healing work, but also come and do their own retreats there, and take advantage of the mountains and the river and the greenery and the peace and quiet, because it's just so quiet, and because there's and it's the southern hemisphere and we don't have a lot of lights around that land, so the amount of stars that you can see at night on my land is just breathtaking. So I'm excited. It's been quite a journey with that land, and maybe you'll come next year too, and we can do some breathwork sessions there. Um, so that's the idea. That's the idea of actually the house is going to be called Amaru. And Amaru means dragon or serpent in Quechua, which is the native language down there. And like ground shifting, right? Like it comes to like break apart old energy and bring in new energy. And it's very associated to water and earth. So that's why I chose to call the house Amaru.
I love it, and I will definitely be down there next year.
Yes.
And I know you've got a retreat coming up in Miami very soon. Tell us about that.
I do. It's a 4-day breathwork retreat. It starts Thursday night from Thursday to Sunday. It's in Homestead. It's in a beautiful home with a mangrove backyard and a pool and a fire pit. This is my 4th time at Tapestry of the Heart. I love that place after the Goddess Temple. I love that place. It's going to be co-ed, so all beings are welcome over the age of 21. We are going to breathe Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And to add to that, I'm also going to be teaching about feminine and masculine energies and integrating them, as well as teaching emotional release tools, which is again part of that breath, sound, and movement, the movement piece of like getting energy out of our body. And also I'm going to touch upon pleasure, Christian. I'm going to talk about our right to have and experience pleasure and how we block ourselves from it on an emotional level, a mental level, and a physical level. So we're also going to expand into the senses to recognize that, like, we literally have 72,000 nadis ready for pleasure in our body. And it's like, okay, wake them up. Let's wake them up. Let's wake them up so we can really, bring in more joy into our lives.
I love it. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, I'm excited.
And I'll never forget, like over 30 years ago, I heard a spiritual teacher say that we can't talk about enlightenment and leave the body behind.
Totally.
So it's the vehicle. It's the little carbon-based spaceship that allows us to be here on this journey of embodiment. So of course we can't leave it behind.
100%. Yep. That's what, like, and that's kind of what I'm all about, like embodiment. And, even the phrase, like, I laugh and I feel like I've shared this with you, like we are gods having a human experience, right? Or spirits having a human experience, keyword, human experience. So in order to have the human experience, you need the body, and you need to be fully in the body.
Yes.
So come have a human experience with me and see how it goes.
I love it. Thank you so much, Marianita, for sharing your beauty and your wisdom and your power with us, and your journey. I know can serve many others to step into their purpose and claim the roles as teachers and healers at this most critical time in the evolution of our species. We have your website down below, so anybody that wants to find out more information about you or your work or the upcoming retreat in Miami, that's how you do it. wondernotlost.co. Any final words from you?
I want to thank you. I mean, more than any, I always say this, and for me, breath work it continues to be the most amount of healing that I've done. If it wasn't for breath work, I would not be where I'm at. And that was, You dealt with three years of a lot of crying and a lot of anger, and I'm grateful for that. So keep breathing for anyone who's interested, or like, breathe, go to a breathwork session, find a breathwork practitioner, and and breathe. And more than anything, like, the message is, we are students for life, right? We are students of life for life. And that doesn't mean that at some point you become a teacher for others. It's not arrogant to turn around and start to share everything that you've learned on your path. um, you're being of service, and that is the point, to continue to pass on the torch down, and as wide as you possibly can. So even though, we are all students of life forever and ever and ever, it is okay to start sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, your experiences with the world, because it's needed, and there is room for all of us. There is
Yes.
room for all of us, to continue to spread light, to continue to spread wisdom into the
Seriously, with
collective.
approaching 8 billion humans, um, we need all the teachers
Exactly.
available as possible, as quickly as possible.
Yeah. So start somewhere. It doesn't matter, with your dog. Start, like, but start. It's worth it. It's so worth it. And when you start to get on the other side more often, you realize it's all the blocks were in your mind. You made it up. Like, you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. And then taking that dive gets easier and easier. It gets easier and easier. The more you jump off of the cliff, even though you're terrified. And you
Yes.
keep proving your ego wrong, and so it becomes there's more neuroplasticity there in your mind, and so it's like, it gets easier.
Yeah, thank you again for sharing all that with us and sharing your time with us. Thank you, everybody, for listening and for watching. And let us know if we can be of service as you step into your role as teacher and
Yes.
healer. And have a great weekend.
Yes, you too. Thank you, Christian. I love you.
I
um,
love you too.
if anyone needs anything, you know where to reach me.
Perfect.